Hi, Ron.
Hi, Sarah.
You are live now on YouTube.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to everyone at our first Virtual Resources Committee meeting. I hope you can all see and hear us. Just before we start the meeting, I'd like to remind the members that the meeting will be live streamed on the Devon and Somerset Fire and Rescue Service website, and members of the public may well be joining us to watch in and listen. I'd just like to go and also welcome Councillor George Wheeler, who's joining us on the Resources Committee. So welcome, George. Councillor Wheeler. I hope you enjoy the committee.
Thank you, Chair.
Moving on to item agenda number 1. Do we have any apologies?
I haven't received any, Chair.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item agenda number 2. I hope everyone has seen and received a copy of our meeting, which was held on the 13th of February, and the last Resources Committee we held at Service Headquarters. Are there any questions, and do you all agree that it's a true and accurate record of the meeting?
Agreed. Agreed.
Okay, I'll take that as everyone has agreed. Did everyone confirm that? I've had some members.
This year's losses have been unparalleled. So where these losses are more than
Okay, I'll take that as agreed.
I will cover from
Moving on to item agenda number 4. This is on page 7 of our packs for those who have got copies.
Jonathan, sorry, item 3.
Item 3, I beg your pardon, items requiring urgent attention. I'm not aware of any. Do I have any, Sam?
No, we don't have any, but thank you.
Thank you for reminding me, my apologies. Moving on to item agenda number 4, the urgent decisions taken on the 2019-20 revenue budget. Just this is to remind members that this is for our information. The decisions have already been taken. But I'm sure some members may have questions they might like to ask Amy on this, our Treasurer. Are there any questions from anyone on the paper? I haven't seen any hands on there. So
sorry, Chairman, I was frantically flicking through papers.
Sorry, okay, Frank, no problem. Go ahead.
So the urgent decision is also it's the quarterly report as well, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have a couple of questions, if that's all right.
Yes, of course. Yes, by all means. I think Amy's there with us as well, so go ahead.
Hi, afternoon, everybody, by the way. Sorry, a little bit fragmented. But I just noticed on 3.14, this is a bit of a mischievous one, but that we got income from Glastonbury. Clearly Glastonbury was postponed, so the Glastonbury Festival, that is, and I just wonder whether we would have to pay that back if they'd front paid us some money. 3.9, my maths doesn't add up to the 0.134, 134,000. Where's the other 26,000? What was my last question? Yeah, leave it there for a second, Chair, if you don't mind.
Yep, not a problem. Amy, are you able to respond to Frank's questions?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Chair. So the income from Glastonbury Festival relates to the 2019 Summer Festival. So this report is covering the financial year from April 19 to March 20. So no requirement to pay that back as the support was given to the festival. And on 3.9, what we try and do is highlight the significant contributions to variances in there. So I wouldn't always detail out everything, but if you would like further information, I can try and do the text for you.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Amy. Are there any other questions at all from any of the members?
Yeah, so that's just made of lots of little amounts, is it? That 30, the missing 28,000, Amy? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Just seems an awful lot, you know, quite a big proportion of the overall lot of that. But yeah. Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions at all for Amy on item agenda number 4? The report is for noting. The decisions have been taken, but it's just, has anyone had any further questions?
Go on, Chair. I'll ask one more I'd highlighted.
That's fine. Okay, go ahead, Frank.
I noticed that we were over on our energy costs, which sort of surprised me, given that obviously we've been trying to reduce our energy usage generally, and the fact that an awful lot of people have been working from home in the well, I suppose it wasn't very much of this financial year, but just interested on why we're over on energy costs. Thank you.
Amy, do you have any information on the energy costs that Frank's raised at all, being a little bit over budget?
Thank you. We provide narrative on everything over 50,000, so that's why there's not further detail provided in the report. I don't have any detail underlying the reasons for the energy costs, but I know that obviously it's subject to market fluctuation. And as Frank points out, we should see a decrease based on a lot of home working happening. Of course, we do have to keep our stations lit and heated to an appropriate standard, so that won't change based on any COVID-19 related activities. I believe it's a combination of price and usage variance against that, but I can certainly ask the estates team for a bit more information if that would help.
Okay, maybe when you've got the information, you could send it to all the members on the committee so that we can all see Frank's questions and that they were the explanation from the relevant officers and team members. That would be great. Thanks, Amy, if that's possible. Thank you. Okay, so I take it there's no more questions from members. Okay, moving on to item agenda number 5, which is on page 41 of our packs.
Chair, sorry, just before you go back, can you just ask everybody to confirm they're happy to note the report, please?
Oh, sorry, yeah, my problem. Are all members happy to accept the report and note it?
Noted, Chair Frank.
Noted, Jonathan.
Noted, George.
Noted.
Ron, can you get your sound on? You happy to note the paper, Ron?
So I'm happy to note the paper. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. That's everybody, I think. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you for that. Item agenda number 5, again, page 41 of our packs. This is
Jeremy Yabsley
has joined the meeting.
Oh, welcome, Jeremy. If with us, can you hear us?
I am here. I can hear you now. Thank you.
Well done, Jeremy. Thank you for persevering and getting through. Item agenda 5. We're just going to now, Jeremy, on page 41. It's a COVID-19 financial implications paper that's been put together by Amy, our treasurer. I'm sure, like myself, you may have been wondering about the COVID-19 situation and how it's financially affected the service, which is why Amy's done the paper for us. So, Amy, would you like to run through the paper with us for us, please?
Thank you. I have read the paper. Thank you. Very good.
Thank you, everybody. So, yes, as was outlined, this is just to give you an update on COVID-19 and the impact on our finances. So, we were partly included in the £3.2 billion. Sorry, just getting some interference. I'm not sure if people are able to mute if they're not speaking. So fire were included in the £3.2 billion of emergency measures given to local government, and fortunately able to secure £48 million pot in the second tranche of funding. So for the Devon and Somerset, that equates equated to £1.6 million. We are tracking expenditure against that grant and are comfortable that we won't be using all of that in the 2021 financial year, pending any second wave, of course, in terms of the way that we've been set up and organising the service going forward. So we've also been putting thoughts into how this is going to impact on the longer term financial stability of the authority, and obviously wanted to outline some of the key financial risks there. So overall, we feel, having done some analysis and discussion as a leadership team, that the impact on the finances for 2021 is probably actually going to be positive. Although organisationally, that does mean that we will be stopping or slowing down some of the activity that we're undertaking. But of course, reducing things such as travel and some of the activity that we're doing will have a positive financial impact. We know that we're going to have some significant slippage on our capital programme. So, for example, the supplier of our moving rescue pumps that are due to be delivered in this financial year has paused production for 3 months and is slowing down production capacity now due to social distancing measures. We are, however, expecting to get the chassis of those vehicles delivered in this financial year, so we will see some spend. And similarly, you may have seen via our social media that Brixton is now up and running again as a site that rebuild going on there. So we'll include some more detailed financial analysis in that in the next Resources Committee papers, which will include the Q1 financial performance. Looking to the future, we know that there's going to be significant economic impact. Obviously, the GDP figures that have come out for the first quarter, and any resulting recession is likely to impact on both council tax and business rates income. I've included the national figures there, but unfortunately we're not getting a lot out of our local billing authorities at the moment in terms of the impacts there. There's been an announcement today, a couple of hours ago, that major precepting authorities, including fire and police, will be allowed into the government scheme, which will enable us to repay any collection fund deficits over 3 years. However, I'm not comfortable that that will actually mitigate the risk. So as part of the secondment role that I'm doing on behalf of the sector for the spending review, we'll obviously be highlighting the risk locally to Devon and Somerset and also wider picture in terms of the impact of COVID-19 on those collection funds. The government assumptions at the moment is that there will be full recovery of those council tax and business rates, but obviously over a 3-year period it might be more extended than that. So we will be revising the reserve strategy to ensure that we have sufficient protection against those budget or potential budget shortfalls, and also how we're going to meet any reduced resourcing requirements in the future. So I'm happy to take any questions, but hopefully that just gives an update to members on the work that we're doing and the information that we'll bring back at a later date. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Amy, and for the hard work as always for all the papers you and your team produce for us. So thank you for that. I think Simon's got a question, and then if anyone else has got a question, I'm happy to take it after Simon's. So over to you, Simon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Excellent. Right, thank you. It was just on the last point in 2.3, Amy. Where you say if the authority does not utilise all the COVID-19 funding, a decision will be required to best use of the remaining funds. I'm surprised in as much as I would have expected the government to have wanted us to repay that money.
So it's actually been given to us as a Section 31 grant, which is an unrestricted grant.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I understand now. Thank you very much. That's fine. Thank you, Amy. And as ever, a great report. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you, Simon. Frank, I think you've got a question you'd like to ask Amy?
Yes, I should have thanked Amy in my last question for another easy to follow report. So thank you, Amy, and well done everybody at Fire HQ as well for the way you've adapted in these times. Yeah, obviously it is going to be really concerning, the council tax collection rates. The briefing that we, being a district council as well, the briefing that myself and Jeremy were both part of, sort of certainly indicated worst case scenarios than this. I don't know if that's because our responsible officer is as pessimistic as Amy, but certainly their concern was that it could be as much as 10% drop in council tax collection, and I forget the exact figure for business rates, but clearly the indication is that Devon's businesses are going to impact, well, Devon and Cornwall, Devon and Somerset in this case, sorry. Yeah, we're going to have probably a bigger impact given our tourism sector than anywhere, so the journey's going to be a tough one. Amy, I was reading the bit about government support. So the 75p in the pound, was that relating to the drop in the council tax that they were going to support? Was that on top of the 500 million they announced today? I couldn't quite follow that because it's such new news. I did read it through earlier on and was quite interested. And then you mentioned it, so I wasn't quite sure if the 75p in the pound that they were offering was to the loss of income overall to the council, or whether that related to council tax. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I'll respond to that. So the information that's been released today relates to income within the year. So that's things like sales fees and charges, parking receipts, things like that. We would are eligible for that. So I will send out the press release to members of the committee so they know what we're talking about. This might be a bit more helpful, but effectively what they're saying is that each local authority has to fund the first 5% of any losses that they're experiencing of the incoming year. And then the government will seek to fund 75% of whatever is remaining, so 75% to 95%. That won't apply to council tax receipts. So it'll just be income in the revenue budget that we normally would have experienced. So there's two separate issues within that statement that's been released today.
Thank you. Chairman, can I just ask that everybody mutes themselves when different people are speaking, because the cross noise makes hearing the answers quite difficult?
Yeah, certainly. Again, can we all, unless you're actually speaking, can we all make sure we're muted so that in case we're coming in on the phone or there's background noise, we can all hear clearly? Thanks very much. Frank, is there any other questions you've got?
No, I think Amy answered it. So I think the bit was, so it doesn't include council tax collection, which is likely to have quite a big impact on us as a fire authority, I guess.
Absolutely. 70% of our funding is from council tax, so any variation on that collection fund will have a big impact.
Lovely. Thank you, Amy. I think Lee, the chief, would like to come in. Lee, would you like to go ahead?
Thanks very much, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Just wanted to add a couple of points, if I may, to this. Amy's articulated how those financial pressures might come to fruition in the next few years. Just to reassure members of what we're doing in the light of COVID, we're reviewing activity. We're making sure that we are spending money in areas where we need to spend money, and we're refocusing the organisation. There's some prioritisation work that's taking place across the service. So we're trying to make sure we're in a really good position to meet some of those financial pressures that we know are coming down the line, whether that is as a result of government having to claw back some of the funding for fire and rescue services or council tax collection rates. So we're not waiting for it to happen, we're trying to get ahead of it. And just as part of that, we're probably in a pretty good position, because I think with 3 examples, we are almost certainly going to head into 2021 with a significant underspend. Amy's touched upon the capital programme and the fact that a number of our suppliers haven't been providing the vehicles that we need. So the capital programme is likely to slip, and some of our estates work we've obviously had to pause. That's one aspect. The second part, we'll touch upon the COVID grant, and at the moment there is additional provision in that grant over and above what we're currently spending, as Amy's covered. So that will be ring-fenced for us, probably as part of a business continuity grant moving forward. But the last point, members will recall earlier in the year, there was funding for payment for availability that was put into the budget. And although we'll pick up some of this through HRMD, it's probably worth talking about the finances now, because of the inability for the FBU at local level to agree to that additional payment for availability, and also some of the flexibility that we are putting in place. The FBU have referred that to national officials to resolve. The reason why I say that is that therefore has put a bit of a delay in terms of how much we can implement in year. In the event that we have a failure to agree at national level, there are other options that we can put in place to achieve some of the things that we're trying to achieve, if not all of them. But that provision was based on part year effect. Clearly, we're now 3 months at least into that. The impact for the service has been manageable because, quite coincidentally, at the same time that we've been unable to put in place additional payment for increased availability, COVID has happened, which has meant there's more availability by definition of people not actually working. So from a service perspective, it's had no difference, the delay, but from a financial planning perspective, it actually helps us address some of the concerns that Amy's articulated. So just wanted just to add a little bit more context for members, and we'll continue to do that as we go through the year, Chair. Happy to take any questions as well.
Thank you very much, Lee. Thank you very much, Lee. Does anyone have any questions on those points that the Chief has raised before I go to the next person?
Yes, sorry. I was trying to use chat box, fingers and all sorts then. Firstly, it's very nice to see that Lee's not managed to get a footballer's haircut. Yeah, I should have asked it under 5. I mean, obviously, still got a problem in the underspend on the on-call officers. Given the job losses coming forward, I wonder if that's an opportunity now for us to really push our case for people to consider on-call firefighting, because looking at those two budgets, and I sort of missed the moment to ask, because I really wanted to ask a question on those two, but I'm getting myself confused between the sort of financial report and the emergency decisions. But yeah, and I just wonder there now whether there's real opportunity for people, because there'll be an awful lot of people sadly looking for employment, and whether now's the time to really push our on-call service and opportunity for people, you know, not only to sort of keep themselves occupied really, but I would have thought it'd been a positive thing both ways actually, and for us as a service. Thank you, Chair.
No, absolutely. So one of the things that we've done is that some of our on-call firefighters have been crewing ambulances, and we've deliberately done that to help protect some of their income that they've been lost through their primary employment, and that has the added benefit of making sure that they're going to still stay with us, or hopefully stay with us in the longer term. At the same time, what we've done is we're in the process of recruiting initially from our on-call firefighters from that cohort into whole-time firefighters, whole-time positions. Now, what that will do, it will bolster our numbers in terms of whole-time numbers. That helps us control overtime costs as well. But in addition to that, what that does is it provides a mechanism, exactly as Councillor Biederman has said, a mechanism for some of our on-call firefighters that perhaps might have significant external pressures in terms of other employment. We can then become hopefully an employer of choice for them, and actually we will choose quite a large number of those firefighters. We've got about 50 positions that we're looking to fill. So so that will provide a route for colleagues on-call colleagues to undertake more activity and become whole-time firefighters for us. That's underway at the moment. We've got a recruitment process that's taking place. Where that then subsequently leads us is that some of those firefighters will want to keep hold of their on-call contract whilst working on a whole-time basis for us, which is great. Some of them actually might want to relinquish that on-call contract. So what that then does, the ability for us to increase diversity and offer new contracts and to make sure that our communities represent, we represent the communities we serve, that's an opportunity that then subsequently comes from recruiting in the on-call areas as well. And in parallel, clearly, we've got some stations that we discussed earlier in the year that we're still struggling to get sufficient crew for. And so the additional flexibility on some of this payment for availability and some of the revised arrangements that we're putting in place will actually help that. So the irony is that the sooner the FBU can agree payment for availability, the sooner we can get some of these fire stations crewed, and the sooner we can then protect the public in some of those areas. So that flexibility is needed. We are in the process of closing that down, and then we'll come to a decision point at the end of those national agreements. Hopefully, if there's an agreement, that's great. But if there isn't an agreement, then there are other options that service is considering as well. So hopefully that helps, Councillor Biederman, reassure you that we are looking to look after our on-call firefighters, providing routes of access to the service for their continued employment, but at the same time balancing the impact on the service. So it's a really good point. I'm grateful for you raising it.
Thank you, Lee. That's great. Just in case anyone has any other questions, we've been using the chat box to ask if people would like to ask any questions. But in case someone's having difficulty with that, is there anyone else that would like to ask any questions on the paper? Okay, I'm not getting anything, so I'm assuming everyone's happy with the paper. So thank you for producing the paper, Amy. The report is for noting. So can we go through again with everyone agreed to or disagreed if they do on the paper? So I agree.
Jonathan, we could try and do a poll vote on this if you want.
Oh, okay, yeah, yes, okay, happy to do that. You control that, don't you? Because I don't think I've got access.
I do. I'll just share the screen and then I'll open the poll vote.
Oh, lovely. Okay, thank you.
You should be seeing the recommendation there now.
Yes, indeed, that the report be noted.
Yeah, okay. I'll now open the poll.
We just need to ask Jeremy because he won't see the poll, of course.
Indeed. And if you could all indicate, indicate your view by ticking on one of the boxes and then pressing the submit button.
Okay.
Steve?
Yeah?
Yeah. Where is this poll box going to arrive in my life?
It's in the chat box.
Oh, it's in the chat box.
You need to open your participants list, Simon.
Right, okay. Bear with me a second. Okay. I've got the participants list, all 14 of us.
Okay, I don't, Jonathan, can I suggest, sorry about this, can I suggest you do it the way you were originally saying and do a roll call, because otherwise it's going
okay, not a problem. Not a problem.
I'll close the poll.
Okay, fair enough then. Okay. Okay, so if we can go back to an audio. So I agree with the report being noted. That's Jonathan.
Yeah.
Agreed, George.
Agreed, Simon.
Agreed, Ron Peard.
Agree, Ray Radford.
There's just Frank. I'm not sure if Frank can hear, but that is the majority in any event, Chair. So that's absolutely fine.
Okay, thanks very much for that then. Okay, so we're now going on to item agenda number 6, which is the exclusion of the press and the public. A recommendation that in accordance with section 100A, subsection 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, that the press and the public, with the exception of Dr. George and the directors of Red One Limited, and councillors Saywell and Thomas, authority appointed non-executive directors of Red One, be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they may involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the following paragraphs of Part 1 of Schedule 12A as amended of the Act. Members, can I also remind you to be vigilant and make sure that you are by yourselves in a room and no one can overhear the conversations or anything that will be discussed in the Part 2, and make sure that obviously you're not interrupted or can be heard by anyone.
Chairman, can we just clarify, please, that we are closing Part 1 of the meeting now. So we'll close Part 1 now, live streaming will close, and we will then move into Part 2 of the meeting as planned at 3 p.m. So there will be a short break to Part 2.
Yep, obviously that's, yes, thank you for that, Sam. Sorry, I should have said that. That's my fault. So thank you for everyone. And I guess we'll be back shortly after a short break at 3 o'clock.
Chair, could I just also clarify what that means in terms of moving into the Part 2 is that this WebEx meeting will be shut down and members will need to rejoin via the Part 2 meeting invitation at 3 o'clock.
Yes, yeah, absolutely right. So everyone, we're going to have to sign in again at 3 o'clock on the invitation of the WebEx for the Part 2. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah, okay. See you at 3.
Cool.
Great.
See you at 3. Thank you.
Yeah, happy with that.
Okay, lovely. We'll see you all at 3 o'clock in the next meeting.
Okay.
Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Jeremy Yabsley.